Good morning, family. Peace and blessings. Welcome to Sunday Sit with Sisters. I am Rolanda Wilkins, and I'm joined by the Queen, Cleo Clartel, and we're going to talk today about Black thought, Black business, and the power of an idea. So I'm very, very excited to have my sister here. Sister Cleo, take just a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, everybody. I'm Cleo Clartel. I was born and raised in Oakland, California. Raised by an awesome, amazing parents. I call them the dynamic duo, Carol and Aubrey. And I think I moved from Oakland to Sacramento in like the early 90s. I want to say 88 I moved to Sacramento. So I've been here getting my feet wet, so here we are.
Right on. So, Cleo, give us a little bit of your background, though. Like, I know we have a lot of things in common. This morning when I talked about BET, it's like, girl, yeah, we used to watch. So, give me a little bit of your background. Like, what was your introduction into Blackness, into Afrocentricity, or whatever we call it this decade?
Okay, so I think I have a unique story.
Okay.
My parents, they met at UC Berkeley. My mother was a Black Panther. My father was an activist, but he wasn't really in the Panther Party. My mother actually was. I was like Angela Davis. She taught us how to type, me and my sister. And Angela's actually one of my sister's godmothers. So we were heavily immersed in Oakland into like Marcus Garvey, Huey Newton, the whole Black family food programs, all the things, Black. My parents had us in, so we were always aware of like Marcus Garvey, Black economics, having your own business, supporting your own business. Most of our family and friends, they worked a 9 to 5, but they all had a business, after that. So I was always around that. So,
I know. So let me ask you that. With that being said, you brought up some key parts. You talked about the Black Panthers, knowing Angela Davis. Like, what was your life like around when the whole crack rolled in? Because you talked about that's the time, I call it the pre-crack eras, where, Black folks was mobile, when they were doing things for each other, when they, we had our own community, if you will.
Right.
What was that like, seeing that change?
Wow. The crack era was interesting because at that time, I believe my grandparents had passed on, or my great-grandparents had passed on, and they had passed on 2 of their homes to our family. And one of my cousins actually started to occupy the home, and they started to sell dope out of the home, and we ended up losing both of those homes to the crack era. Oakland Police Department and the county of Alameda, if you sold dope out of any of your homes, they had the right to come in and take them.
Wow.
And so they actually took those homes that were bought and paid for with the deed from my grandparents, and they took those homes. So that was something that stayed heavily on my mind as a young adult. I want to say I was probably like around 13 or 14 when that happened, but those pictures, they stayed in my mind. This is bad. We have family and ancestors that work extremely hard to get these properties, and then we have family members that get into these drugs or what have you and lose everything. it's like everything my grandparents worked for was lost.
Wow.
So that was a heavy thing for us in our family. The whole crack epidemic. My sister, she got into drugs real tough. I remember. I remember me and my stepfather having to go back and get her car because she had loaned it out, to the dope man, and
Wow.
things like that. That was such a crushing thing on my spirit.
Mm.
I went in a different direction as far as like, this can't be happening in our community. We weren't raised like this, but crack had
Yeah.
such a negative impact on the Black family. It took a lot away from us. Yeah.
Right on. I think we don't talk about that enough. When you
No, we
talked
don't.
about your grandparents' house, were your grandparents from Oakland, or were they from
No,
somewhere else?
they were from Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge to Louisiana. So, they came out here, made their way, bought the houses, which wasn't easy. You had to have money. And also that's generational wealth that
Yes,
was
ma'am.
taken. You could have had equity in those homes and could have been using
Correct.
the money to further other generations. So I think we don't talk about that enough. But in the midst of all of that, you still were able to have Black thought.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
I
Because a
did.
lot of people that I met, that I interviewed, just when I was younger, who were a part of the Panthers, who were a part of the nation, who were a part of, Black organizations, some of them were on crack. And I often wonder, like, wow, if you came through crack era and you still have the Black mind, or how did you keep that
Well,
during that?
that's funny. That's funny because I talk about mental health. I talk about, I be damn the things that a Black human at this time, not to even speak about our ancestors, what they have went through,
Right.
but the things and the pressure that one has to go through, especially if they have an idea that they are supposed to be Black. Great, you
Mm,
know, the pressure of producing something that's positive while there's something negative pulling you, and it gives you a release or some type of satisfaction or pleasure to escape all of the crazy. I
mm-hmm.
believe that's how a lot of um, our uh, our past greats have really gotten and dabbled into drugs because they really didn't have an outlet,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, it's sad, but I believe that's what it is. I believe that they really didn't have a mental break, with
Mm,
so much pressure. And then, especially now, with so much hopelessness,
mm-hmm.
I mean, we are in an extreme plight of hopelessness, and the majority of the people don't even know that they are
That's real talk.
in that. Yeah. Hmm.
So how did you though maintain the Black thought through all
Books.
that time? Books. All right.
Books. My father, and there were other things like my father got me heavy into jazz really early. Um, Culture, art. My father was really heavy into showing me different cultures. Um, you know, we would go on little dates. We would go and have sushi. And then we would go to an art museum, and he would show me all the Black art. He just, I believe he just wanted something different for me. And
Mm,
he took the initiative to show me different things, different cultures, traveling. Sometimes it wasn't something big. We would travel to San Francisco. We would spend a day in San Francisco. We would get a hotel room, and we would go shopping. And it wasn't big. It didn't have to be anything extravagant, but it was, we would walk in Chinatown, and he would say, look how they are connected culturally,
mm.
where they don't move. He said most of these people in Chinatown, they moved, they came here, and they don't leave Chinatown. They money don't leave here.
That's real talk.
They purchase property. They own. They are owners. Even though this is San Francisco, this is not China, this is not Japan, this is not Korea. They own this. This is theirs. They own a majority. If not now, 80% of San Francisco.
I believe that.
So, and that to me, that was mysterious to me. I was like, and then I would go back home, go back to Oakland, and I would see block per block per block per block owned by us. But when the crack era came, that started to dissipate.
Mm.
So less and less. And it's not because those people that owned the businesses were into crack, but their kids. They were spending their money on bailing them out of jail,
Mm.
bailing them out of their crack debt, to where they just start losing everything. A lot of the ways that Alameda County or Oakland, city of Oakland obtained a lot of those housings was because parents and grandparents lost their homes from bailing their kids out, bailing their children out,
Mm.
more leveraging their homes. So,
Wow. I just think all of this is so important. I think when you're talking about black businesses,
mhm,
like say Black Power or Black Lives Matter and all that
correct.
kind of stuff. I think knowing the history and what's happened, because sometimes it feel like we never debrief. We just
No,
kind of
we don't.
pick up and keep going.
We
And then
keep
every 25 years or
absolutely.
so, we keep losing more ground.
Hmm.
It's hard for us to be together. You said something key. You said in Chinatown, like for instance, 7 out of 10 homes in California is owned by an Asian person.
Yeah.
7 out of 10. That's a lot of housing.
Hmm.
We're in a housing crisis, but 7 out of 10 homes are owned by Asian people.
Yeah.
So when you think about that,
And
how do
they collectively purchase.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a whole
I've been a witness to it.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
been a witness. I worked in a salon. I'm also a licensed cosmetologist for the last 25 or so years.
Mhm.
I worked for an Asian chick about my age. She was married to a brother, military. So she wanted to have an idea that she had both of the best worlds to her, African and Asian. So she knew a little something. So she tried to be collectively friendly to Africans. So I worked with her, and I witnessed her father fly in all of her uncles from Korea. They all wrote checks, and they purchased the building to open up the mom a restaurant. They wrote $10,000 checks. They didn't ask any questions. They didn't ask who was credit or nothing. I witnessed that in the meeting because I was working that day. And I thought to myself, my God, you know, what kind of mind state do you have to be in to collectively purchase? Like what energy is that we don't embody?
Right.
And how do we correct that?
Do you think that was something that came as a result of the crack area? Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Because I'm from the East, and so we bought houses like that
Yeah.
before crack. Like we have a house in our family from 1920 when my ancestors came up from Virginia to Philly, and so that house is still in my family 100 years later. We still own
Right.
it. So,
That's good.
um, how do you think we can get back to that place? Because that sounds like trust. That's like if somebody, I would say that if when I have to do like contract work, when I do contract work with white people and they pay me stuff, they don't be wanting blood and all that kind of stuff. When I do contract work for black people, they be wanting to pay you a nickel and then wanting you to give them like $1 million worth of work. You know what I'm saying? So how do we regain that in black thought? Because we just have this. Some people think being black means come and spend all your money with me, but I don't have no obligation to you.
So it's funny that you asked that because I do a lot of consulting, right? And it's mostly for black businesses. I'm an encourager of black women being in business. But as I started that, it started to be a lot of trauma for me, because
Mm,
I started taking on actually doing all of the lead work for these women in business to actually be in business, and there was no accountability. So
mm,
I had to restructure exactly how I ran my consulting. And I thought, I prayed and meditated heavily on what was the problem and why these women wouldn't go through the steps or do the things that they needed to do to be committed to their own business being successful. And I said, it's mental health. So I begin to ask, instead of all those other business things, I would ask, how's your mental health?
Right on.
Before we go any further, before we exchange money, before we talk about what your concepts are, what your branding, what your thoughts are, how is your mental health? Because if you have an unstable environment at home, you're not going to do this business. If you have a problem with women, black women, you're not going to be successful in this business. If you have a problem with black men, you're not going to be successful in this business. If you have a problem or a hidden agenda of hatred because you can't look in the mirror and you don't love yourself, you're not going to be successful in this business. So let's talk about where you are mentally. Do you get up and celebrate yourself every day? Because it's going to be extremely hard for you to celebrate anybody else. Do you get up with a zeal and a zest to want to? What's your intention? What are your intentions? Because I don't care if you got a fried chicken business. Are your intentions to figure out what is the most healthiest way for you to fry chicken, for it to be affordable, for it to be mass produced and better for the community? Because if that's your intention, that's going to be successful. If your intention is just to go find chicken that's not fresh, it's not refrigerated, and you just serving any kind of shit. Excuse my French, can I cuss on Yolanda?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
If you're just serving up some shit because you want to make some money because you are operating in desperation, that shit is not going to be successful. That is actually going to be a disease on our community. So, what are your intentions? What is your mental health? Do you take on too much and never successfully complete any task? What is your, are you organized? Are you 100% authentic with your goddamn self? Forget everybody else. Are you truthful with you? If you know that you are a procrastinator, I suggest you work on that, killing that, whatever that is, before you start anything. Don't be fooled. Another issue with our people, we have this I call it the copycat white folk syndrome. Okay?
Good. Go ahead.
And we want to emulate everything they do, right? With this crazy idea and agenda that it's like, really, but what you need to figure out is what you do well, not what they do well, or not what they're doing. You need to holistically understand what it is in your DNA.
Yes, please.
What you do, and emulating them, that's not our thing.
Yeah.
That's not successful for us. And in doing that, there comes the abuse. We start to abuse our own people because we are operating in a white idea. Right.
So you was right there. Tell us about the Goddess Night Out.
The Goddess Night Out, I decided during COVID, the morale is just so low. Even with the strongest of people, the strongest of sisters, the morale is so super low, especially for Black women. I see us taking on so many different things, trying to sustain a household, especially if you have a family or kids. There's so many people of us that are out of work. And I'm just listening and watching like timelines. I'm in groups. I'm listening to sisters speak. And I just wanted to design a night out. I would have liked it to be like a weekend, But at this point, people can't afford to go to a hotel for a weekend or do a convention or do a weekend show. So I was like, you know what? On my property, I'll design a night out to where we feed the women, and not only food, we feed them in yoga, we feed them in massage. We have some retail therapy, some awesome, amazing sisters that are in business. We celebrate them. We bring them out. We have great music. We have cocktails, and it's just a night to just reset, and to be around other people who you get to understand it's just not me. You
Right
know,
on.
I'm not the only person going through this. And it's the camaraderie of being around people that look like you, love like you, and are right now in trauma. What I'm noticing, and I talk to my sister. My sister's a psychiatrist, Dr. Melva Green on Hoarders, and we sit and we often we have these heart to hearts, and we talk about how where what kind of programs or healing circles are going to be available for Black women after, or if there is an after this whole COVID thing. Who's going to take care of us?
Right on.
Who's going to come see about us? Who's going to come see about Black men?
Right
you
on.
know who How will we get through? Because, and if we're not careful with this, you want to talk about extreme poverty. you know I'm seeing it. I'm seeing us getting left, and I mean, just with us not getting approved. I don't know anybody who got approved for, and that's in business that I know, and I know a lot of business people from here and there who didn't get approved for CARES, any of the program money. you know um, I see a lot of people who shouldn't have gotten money. you know
Right on.
the same old crew. It's just it's interesting. It just really is interesting. So mental health.
That's real talk. That's real talk.
Thank you,
Sister said,
Kadisha.
yeah, she said she really enjoyed it. It was a healthy space.
Yeah,
And the other sister says our sisters will check on us.
yeah.
I hear everything you're saying, and I totally agree with it. I just feel like, whew, how will our Black businesses survive? How do you think we will survive? Because
First of all,
this COVID thing is just the latest crisis for Black people to me. I don't even see it as no special period. I think this is the latest crisis that Black people face.
well, I'm going to tell you what's not going to survive.
Okay, talk to me.
I'm gonna be and I'm gonna be 100%. I'm gonna try to be 100% transparent. Okay. A lot of the Black businesses that we call Black businesses are hobbies. They're not going to survive. They're not going to survive. And not only are they not going to survive, they are not, the quality of the work that they're producing is going to go so low because they cannot afford to produce what should be quality. So they're going to be X'd out. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to tell people, and especially when people are hunkering down on what exactly they're spending their money on. Okay? They're not going to survive. So you have to be. So a soap business that a white woman runs, right? Versus the same soap business that a Black woman runs. Okay? The white woman's soap business is going to survive. It's just a fact. It's going to survive because I'm trying to be positive in this area, but there's too many things that we say we won't do. We don't want to be on Facebook to advertise. We have a bad taste in our mouth about that. We have a bad taste in our mouth about social media marketing. We have a bad taste about networking. We just have so many of the things that we won't do, and that's why these businesses won't survive. To as the a white woman soap business, she's going to be on social media. She's not going to get tangled up in the don't be on social media, the whole hype or whatever that is, and then it's going to be a different energy, and let's be honest, they're going to have more money awarded to them than we're ever going to see as far as having a business. It's just, and the support is just going to be different. And that's why I said our mental health. Can you look in the mirror and say, I love me, so therefore I love her? Like we said earlier, before I think we even got on the show, before you even started, how I don't have to know you or like you to frequent your business. I don't have to know your family background. It is an energy here. They got, I know. What she do? I know her. I know her mama, her daddy. Oh yeah, girl, I ain't gonna, no. What is that? That's gotta die too. I know, if I like what you produce, I don't have to know you. I don't have to know your mama and daddy. All I know that's Black owned. I like the product. I'm gonna buy it. I don't have to have this long dissertation of who you are, where you came from. Do you have a PhD? Did you, all that? I don't need to know all that. That is not a prerequisite on whether or not I'm going to frequent your business. If you got a title, those are the things that separate us from being great. The class thing, okay? The class thing is a problem in our community. We can't even get together. We can't have a room full of janitors, some nail techs, somebody, couple PhDs, some doctors, some dentists, some people who own a market, some people who produce a show. We can't have a collaboration of that because the classes don't match. We've been conditioned, especially here, I see it all the time in Sacramento. If there are these cliques that roll, and you see them all the time. But if the classes are not the same, if they're not from the same pedigree, they're not fucking with each other. No. I can't hear you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was on mute. Do you think some of that, though, is street politics that people have brought into business politics? Like in the crack area, we do stuff by crews. This person runs this block and that block. And, when you look at the big dope dealer people, like the pharmaceutical companies, they work together. That's why you have Walgreens and CVS. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to know. You only can be on this corner, and then there'd be a CVS and a Walgreens occupying both corners in your neighborhood. Do you think some of this mentality is left over from maybe the days of people hustling? Because sometimes when I see people who used to be hustlers, they come into the business world, they be that same hustler, but it's only be like that with Black.
Rolanda, I think it's generational. It's way further back than that.
Okay.
Absolutely further back than that. I absolutely don't think the crack era had. I think it has some bearing on that, but not as big as generational plight. Generational fucked upness. No, really.
Right on.
The Jack and Jill shit. You can't play with her because they on the lower bottoms and we up here in Skyline.
Got you.
You can't. I'm like, well, what? What is that? The separation of classes. We have been taught that if you're behind the iron gate with the Mercedes and with you fraternize with these people. Instead of being, when we met at Grandma's house, everybody met at Grandma's house for Sunday dinner. Grandma wasn't hearing none of that. But yet there was still some family members that were like, yes, I'm not going to come because I'm going to the country club because now I'm invited to the country club. You know what I'm saying?
Right
So I'm
on.
not about to go to
I get
grandma's
that.
house no more because I ain't got to because they didn't accept me. So I think, and what's crazy now is that no matter how much money you make or not how many times you're invited to the country club, you still a nigga to them.
Well, that's the beauty of 45 because he make everybody.
Come on.
But that's just, you know.
Right. So answering your question, I think to a certain degree, it the crack era had some bearing on that, but not as much as generational. I call it wealth climbing. You know, we've got to do this to be here, to get here, to do this, to be accepted, to do this. I think that was one of the problems. I think that was a huge problem.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. How do you propose we deal with that? How do we work our way through that? As far, I mean,
I can't remember the name of the book. I have to ask my husband, but it's important that we do class suicide.
Break that down, Cleo. What is class? I think I know what it means, but I need some clear definition. What is class suicide?
Class suicide means that we cannot allow our accomplishments to get in the way of how we have community. We have to decide that a janitor has the same wealth as a doctor.
I get that.
Okay. A dentist has the same, we have the same respect for a dentist as we have for a hairstylist. We have the same, there's no difference just because you got a PhD and she got and she went to high school.
Right now.
Because you take an individual that has a high school diploma, they may have 5 businesses, but they don't get the same respect as an unemployed PhD. They just don't. So we have to have class suicide where none of that matters. We have been taught that you get on this side of the fence and then you leave those others alone. You don't go back to that community. You don't invest. You don't go and teach the kids how to be successful. Even sometimes in our community, when a parent is not there, a parent is missing, it could be a mother or a father, we're not taught to go back in and grab those kids up or grab those communities because now we're over here. So we don't have to do that because we're doing just great.
Right on. Right. And my family's fine.
Yeah. So that's class suicide. We have to be okay with with someone who owns a hair salon living next door to us versus the doctor. The whole block don't have to be doctors and dentists. It could be everybody that's a successful business person or hardworking individuals that have a regular job.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. So is that you think that's a mental health condition?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how would you diagnose that? What would be the term we would use for that?
I don't know, girl. Shit. I don't know what that is.
I think that's something we've dealt with like all the time. I'm from the East, so we had those in our family who did very well. Those in our family who straight up will cut you. I kind of like them a little bit more because they keep it real. They don't fake.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't come with no BS with them either. But no. They don't dress stuff up. They don't. They just real. And I think they're more realer about they're more truthful about the reality.
Right.
It's kind of like when you see somebody walking down the street talking to themselves and you want to label them crazy. But really the people who are labeling are the crazy ones because they're the ones who buy into the system and then get mad when you don't.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
so the person that you're talking to themselves, if you've been through some stuff, you may talk to yourself like,
right.
But then people are like, well, that's okay because I'm going to hide behind whatever it is I think I'm hiding behind, but you're still just as crazy.
So what's interesting too, that's good what you just said, because really everybody has a good word. You just got to sift through what's a good word. Even if it's from a so-called crazy person, they still deserve to be heard. Because I find Jules talking to people honey, I be walking down the street talking to themselves. They say something to me, and I'm blown away because it's something from spirit or the ancestors
Right
that
on.
spoke through
Right
them.
on.
And you know, but you can miss that if you're not in tune. You see, you better.
Oh, you see,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Thought you would. Okay, go ahead. So they just kind of,
right. So
yeah.
you know, so you can miss something having that energy that you know you can only get a great word from somebody who's accomplished or educated. That you know that's crazy. But yeah, it's definitely mental. It's definitely mental. Yeah.
Sister Juanita said, "Black people love exceptionalism," and you're so true.
Wow.
We are, but at the same, you know what cracks me up? This is just my truth. What cracks
Okay.
me up is when I hear people talk about Afrocentrism or Afrocentric or whatever, and they're doing it all with European
Afrocentricity.
words. Like,
Go
did
ahead.
not
Say that
know
again.
that they want to, like, Afrocentricism, you know what
Right.
I mean, or Afrocentric or whatever.
Right.
But meanwhile, they're doing it in the English language, and like they didn't even go learn the African language. They
Girl.
didn't go learn Kiswahili or
Right.
Tree or Wolof or but they're gonna tell you about Africa and not even try to at least try to regain whatever it is they claim that they believe by at least learning the language
You
or
know,
something.
we have this thing that we say and won't say, and me and my husband we argue about this a lot. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Right now.
I say to him all the time, I don't give a shit about all. We both have degrees. I don't give a shit about none of that PhD shit. And because I have to ask you, what have you done for Black America today? Okay, what have you done for Black folks today? If you ain't did shit for Black folks today, not yesterday, not last week, if you have not done anything to better our existence today, none of that shit makes sense to me.
Mm.
It makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't care what your claim is. I don't care what your philosophy is. I don't care what book you've wrote. I don't care what stage you've been on. I don't care what car you purchased. If you have not done anything for Black America today, and I'm talking about going to get a look, anything simple as going to go speak life into a child without anything in return monetarily. I'm talking about going back and taking some elders to a grocery shop. I'm
Right
talking
on.
going to pay somebody whose bills are behind, or and not wanting. What have you done?
Mm.
What have you done? So none of that makes sense to me. I don't care. It makes absolutely no sense to me. So
I do think it's funny because I often reflect on the 90s. In the 90s, I worked for Catherine Hall, and I did watch. Some of them were the first in their family ever to go to college because most of them were from like the deep South, then ended up or whatever. But they always had this connection to their community, which they could never leave behind because they were still attached to the roots somehow.
Yeah.
Where they had to show up in a certain way or they had to go check on. That's when you can go check on somebody in your community.
That's
Oh, Miss
right.
So live here. So I have to make sure I go visit her even when I'm in town or whatever. But I also think a lot of us lost those roots because I think that's where some of the disrespect comes in at.
Come
It's like
on.
one minute you want me to come march for you, and the next minute you don't even want to see me or you want to disrespect. So it's kind of like I just really think that's a part of the whole.
So now that part,
Okay.
that quickness, that disrespectful, that shit came from the crack era. Want shit instantly.
Yep.
So therefore, there's no hard work. So no one has any type of respect or commitment to working hard. If it does not come quick, they are out of the game. They can start something. And I know you have. Have you ever started a program or an event or a movement, and it didn't quite go exactly how you wanted it to go because there probably was some missing elements. You probably didn't have the money that you initially wanted to start it. But those things sometimes take time. It takes tenacity. It takes you to just keep going. Maybe it's not this event, but it might be the next one. Maybe it's the 5th year that it really blows the fuck up. But then you have those people that fall all the way off after the first one. You never see them again.
They weren't committed though.
No, it's not that, but it's because that instant crack era made things instant money. If it didn't come quick, and I think a lot of our generation and younger generations have
I agree.
taken that instant gratification, that instant money, that quick thing, and that is what they live by. If it does not make something quick,
Right.
they don't want no parts of it. And
But
that just ain't reality.
can you build a movement with people like that though?
No. But everybody fantasizes. They do. The girl, they'll look at your shit and be like, oh my God, that looks so pretty, Rolanda. I want to be a part of that. Well, when they get that hard work, baby, they like, I don't want no parts of that shit you doing. That shit looks that's too hard. You know, there you are by yourself doing this movement. Hey. What's that called?
Yeah. No, you know that's called reality. You know what I mean? Their sister saying family culture and customs are passed down from elders in the community, which is true. Which is very true.
That's very true.
And I also think that, and I'm seeing this big thing. Like it's important to focus on the youth. That's my thing. Black girls and women. That's my thing. I get it. It's well for the woman. It's well for us all. Let's just be honest. But I also see this thing where you just can't focus on young people without all the other elements before them.
See, and that's the problem. I tell people that all the time in these organizations. The youth is the truth. Yes, the youth is the truth. Yeah, but if they don't have, if the elders and the middle people, the middle generation, if our shit mentally ain't together, none of this works. We have to have organizations that work on everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's been traumatized.
That's the talk.
You know, we all, you cannot leave out the mama who was traumatized. She needs some resources.
Right on.
Okay? Because if you don't give her the resources, what is she producing in the children, Rolanda? Fucked upness.
Yeah. That's all she got to offer.
That's all she has to offer. So you trying to reach her kids, it ain't gonna matter because they still going home to what? Crazy.
Yep. That's real talk, sis.
What's they doing?
So,
sis, they gonna listen to after they get a good word. You give a great program to the youth, and you give a good word, and they feel with all this positivity, and they go home to their mama, and she is like, "Fuck all that shit." Who they gonna listen to?
Real talk.
Everything that you done gave them is what? Nothing, boy.
Hey, I always say you be trying to plant those seeds.
Right.
You know what I mean? Real talk. Like, we trying to plant those seeds. Sis, tell me about the Garvey Festival.
The Garvey Festival, man, that's my labor of love. I feel like I have a deep relationship with Marcus Garvey as far as ancestral and him speaking into my soul. As a child, I'm thinking like 8, 9, 10. It was embedded deeply into my psyche and spirit, the Marcus Garvey movement. It was said to me that that you must carry on the tradition, no matter what it looks like. This is what we live by. This is how my parents had businesses. They their parents were Garveyites. My dad's parents Garveyites. This is the tradition that you must be. We must build together. Now, coming from a structure like that and coming into a space where, there was a lot of programming in the Black family in Sacramento. You go get a state job. Mm-hmm. Really?
1/3 that was the state in Sacramento.
Come on. That was the thing that would bring security, a false sense of getting out of poverty, but really you just were in a new bracket of poverty.
Yeah.
Right. So it was extremely difficult for me coming from that type of energy coming here and nobody knowing what the hell Marcus Garvey, who he was, what he was. I was like, wow. Like, how is that? So introducing the Marcus Garvey Festival, I was very lucky to have good family in Wose that believed and helped me produce the first Marcus Garvey Festival, which was 6 years ago, because we will be on our no, 5. We would be in our 5th Marcus Garvey this year had it not been for COVID.
Right.
The Marcus Garvey Festival was a bunch of things. It turned into a bunch of things. It was first for I didn't see a structure for Black businesses to win. So it was supposed to be a weekend of classes to help you motivate yourself to understand a business structure and what it looked like to actually open. How to be supportive in that business. We offered all kind of vending for you to brand your business. We had classes, we had mental health things, workshops. We had, and which was the most important thing, we had cultural classes to let you know who you are, where this energy came from an African perspective. Why is it so important? Because we've always owned our own thing. We've always grew our own food. We've always had a tribal mentality. We always looked out for the elders. We always had our own businesses. So we were getting back to that. That's what we were teaching in the Marcus Garvey Festival. So that's what I tried to accomplish with that. A lot of people, and I'm gonna be honest with you, what I found out was that a lot of people hated Marcus Garvey, even Blacks.
Well, of course.
I didn't have that understanding. That was new to me. So when I started figuring it out here, a lot of people were like, "Why are you bringing that shit back?" We are in, what is it, racism. We're finally getting light.
It's always about please value me.
Huh? Say it again.
Yeah, I said it's always about please value me. No other group is asking for that but us.
So it was a lot. I was finding that a lot of people are like, we're accepted. Why are we bringing that shit back? Why? What is this separatism? What is this Black? And it wasn't so much. I was like, what I was trying to do was show the energy, show the connection, the community, the support, how we were linked together. That was all my energy was. But then I, started to be a whole bunch of other things, So it was a lot of work. But that's the Marcus Garvey Festival. Yeah.
Well, sis, keep that going. Now, look, right. So when somebody's not liked, that's a good thing. Yeah, because, absolutely. The road to hell, they say, is paved with people with good intentions and smiling faces and all that kind of stuff.
Not out here for
right up. For likes, right? But I just feel like Marcus Garvey is just such a light and so important. When I first went to Costa Rica to learn Spanish, this was really funny. I was in the Black part and everything. Marcus Garvey is so loved there because he got his start there with the United Fruit Company.
Absolutely.
So the UNIA is still alive and well in Costa Rica, though the community is small. So a lot of us are here on the strength of Marcus Garvey. We don't even understand. Like, we'll throw out Pan-Africanism and
on the strength.
Come on, y'all say that, but you don't know what that really means, though. And you ain't putting nothing on the line. It's more than you putting your fist in the air and wearing dashikis and having an African, all that. Don't nobody give a damn. How do you treat each other? How do you treat your fellow Africans? How do you treat the mother of civilization? How do you love on your? If you can't get along with none of those four people.
My girlfriend says, my son asked about Marcus Garvey Festival last week. I met my real estate agent and bought a house because of this festival. Can't wait for it to come back. See those connections? You can't beat them. And if we don't have these type of festivals, those connections won't be made. But it goes back to what Frances Cress Welsing said when she came to Sacramento. She said, it's simple. You wake up every day and you go look in the mirror and say, I love what I see. If you are able to accomplish that, it's that simple. If you are able to accomplish that, the love that you will have for the community, it will be effortless.
Right on.
What we're able to accomplish, it will be effortless because the love you feel within yourself that's genuine, you'll be able to give it to somebody else. But if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love Black me, everything about Black me, everything. All the imperfections that white America said that wasn't pretty or beautiful, that is a myth. That is a lie. If you cannot love everything everything about Black youth, African youth, it'll never work.
Right
It'll
on.
never
Right
work.
on.
It'll
Right
never
on.
work.
So
Right.
are you going to bring this Garvey Festival back after the quarantine? And how?
And you know, I'm not a big Zoom. This whole Zoom bringing festivals with Zoom, I think that's a proper shit. You know, all that you having whole festivals and that's some shit we done bought it. Bought into some other white shit. You know, all these meeting, virtual hugs, shit. Don't nothing beat a real hug. You keep, I mean, we bought into this. This is like, no, I'm okay. No, I'm okay.
I think some of us are trying to stay connected.
We are.
'Cause that's
Now
all
that's
we
a good
have.
thing. That is a
Yeah.
great thing. But I'm
But
not about to have a whole festival on those Zoom.
no, I get you on that. That sounds crazy. No, I think that people are just trying to stay connected. But I also think this is a perfect time for those people like yourself to give some of that knowledge so people will at least be aware. See, I remember coming up, you had to buy videotapes to watch the latest speeches or the old speeches, or
Yes,
kids today, they don't do that. So they don't necessarily, they don't go, they kind of watch who's, the reality stuff. But I also think it's still up to us to put that information out there. So what you want us to know about Marcus Garvey or any of those great people who came in that time and lived in that time, Noble Drew Ali, we can just go down the list, but we have to maybe create these little snippets so when they come looking, they'll find it. You know what I mean?
The Marcus Garvey Festival is not dead. It will be back.
Right on. Because we need to see that. We really need. And I think this time, maybe I can get Christy, because Christy's going to Jamaica for her birthday. I'm going to ask her to bring me back a bunch of Marcus Garvey money.
Right.
Because I feel like, maybe I could donate when people come in, they get one of those coins. I don't know. Yeah. I just feel like we got to uplift that energy because that's the work we're doing right now. And they are still alive.
And that's why you asked me something, and I didn't answer this how I should have. Right. You asked me how did I get into all of the community things or what have you. I'm going to say this. It was fascinating for me to come home from school and see Miss Ann selling cosmetics out of her trunk after she came home from work. It was absolutely amazing to see Mr. Paul selling flowers from his garden down the street from my grandmother's house. It was fascinating for me to see these people in business. It was fascinating for me to see Miss Peaches press my hair every day with 15 other technicians, and they own their beauty salon. To me, and to see all these Black professional women and beautiful children and young adults, that was fascinating for me. So I felt like through economics and showing I have never ever seen one thing catch young adults and youth mind more than showing them how to be in business.
Right on.
No book, no person, no celebrity, no nothing. When you show them potential and how to earn and how to have something that's tangible, that's theirs, that they have, and you teach them respect. You teach them in steps. You teach them respect. You teach them organization. You teach them how to balance their money. Once you teach them those things, I have never seen it fail. And look how wonderful the African marketplace has been for youth. I see more youth. They're more respectful. They start their own little businesses. They just learn how to be respectful when they're selling. How to interact with the community, the elders. It just teaches you a whole nother. So having the Marcus Garvey Festival, teaching group economics, teaching kids how to be in business. I saw something in Nasir Muhammad, and I love him in faith. They said the baby Vienna was selling. She was taking a customer and she was ringing them up, and he said, "My children will never, do you hear me? Never have a boss."
Right on.
They will never have to work for somebody else. And that, to me, that should be our goal. Instead of our goal having us to be in debt, go to college, be in debt, work for someone else, not get paid the wages or worse, or what we worth. That should not be our goal anymore. Of
That's real
course,
talk.
we should send our kids to have an education, but
Right on.
our energy should be different. We
Right
should
on.
no, we need to be purchasing property. We need to be building small cities and townships. We need to be incorporating. We need to be showing other children how to mass produce things that we need. Those should be our energies. We have to shift our mind,
Right
you
on.
know.
Right on.
Right.
Sis, in these last 5 minutes, tell us about
Yes.
Mama's Market.
So, Mama's Market, like I tell people, I'm a serial entrepreneur, honey. If I get a bug up under me, honey, I'm about to start. If I get an idea, the thought of an idea, you just write it up. You just write it up until it comes into fruition. You just keep going. Sometimes you don't have the money, but my father always said, if you got the idea, make the plan, and the money will become available. Don't wait for the money to become available, and then you're not
Right
ready
on.
to execute the plan because it's going to fail. So, Mama's Market is the brainchild of me, of course. I brung in, but I felt like this time in this business, I couldn't do it alone. So I presented it to my husband, my brother Kyrie, and my sister Temperance Bonner. We sat down. I had the plan. I told them this was the idea. I felt like in a time where we're in essentials, it would be the opportune time to open up a food-based business, not just a restaurant, but a market, a place where people could come and meet, a place where black and brown hands could sell their food creations. Because let's just be honest, they're just not walking in the Rayleigh's and you have a hot sauce, Rolanda, or a bread that you make, and they're not going to bring you in. They're not going to accept you. They're not going to put your product on the shelf. So we had to have um, a space and a platform where these businesses, because let's be honest, food, markets, grocery stores, we have no identity. We have no grocery stores. We don't own any, we're not a part of, and we don't have any stock in it. And then that became a mystery to me. I was like, how can I break into this where so many of us are creating food, but none of our things are on the shelves. We're either selling it at the family reunion, or we're sending it by mail. It's a secret. So I had to change that. I had to say that this is a market we are 100% vested in, but we're not making no money from it. We have no identity. We have no equity in it. We farming though. We grow the greens. So my idea was to say, you know what, we have to think differently about how we have these grocery stores and how we spend our money. We need to start somewhere. Although Mama's Market is very small in terms of grocery stores, we are a boutique market that carries everything. We can, and first, what we carry is what Black people and brown people make. Okay, so we provide a platform to where you can come and sell. You can pop up, you can launch. We can teach you how to brand and package your product. We show you how to go get your licensing. We show you how all the things that they keep us out of. And it's funny because real quick, I want to say this. Everything we did in terms of preparing to open Mama's Market, there was a roadblock. People, those people that had the licensing or the things that we needed to operate, their number one question was, "Who is Mama's Market? Who do you work for?" We were like, "We're Mama's Market." Oh, and we instantly knew. Oh, ain't no Black people owning no grocery stores.
Mm.
How y'all get? My One of our inspectors said, "What made you guys do this?" I said, "Because we had to do it. It's time. It's time to bust this market. Why? This what you're trying to keep us out of, the real equity, the real way to really get rid of some of this poverty in our community." I discovered what it is. It's food, but yet we still want to be having these titles. These titles that's not getting us anywhere.
Real talk.
a Muslim brother that owns a bunch of pizzerias throughout the universities. He told me quick. He said, Cleo, once your people get over this title shit, trying to be, he said, all my kids went to college and every one of them own a pizza place. They don't do shit but make pizza. And every one of them got a home, a vacation home. We meet every Sunday at my house. We travel the world. They are very wealthy because we didn't buy into that.
Right on.
We bought into, we need to have generational wealth. And we knew how to make pizza good. And we ain't ashamed.
Right on.
Pizza makers. We make more, we have more wealth than any physician. You can find me one now, tell them we're wealthier. And not only are we wealthier, we're healthier.
Right on.
We're able, every Sunday, they don't miss having meals together and having fun and laughing. They're able to send their kids and do the things they want to do because he realized that chasing not generational wealth, but chasing titleship or chasing class is death.
Right on, sis. Right on. So I picture.
So that's Mama's Market.
Yeah. Right on. So I put your website up there, and we need to all go shop there, y'all. Yes. Just like in other communities, they go to certain stores once a week to gather. Whether they're, matter of fact, where I live at, I think they're from Afghanistan or somewhere. People go there and get their vegetables and fruit from them, from their community.
If you don't do nothing, but get all your seasonings and sauces from us. They're all made by brown hands, and then also, we have a monthly box. You can get all of your meats from us and all of your vegetables and pick it up once a month. It's very affordable and you get a lot.
Somebody said I will be there today. How does that work when you said there's a monthly box? What does that entail? The
box is $200 for the meat. You can customize it. You get everything from oxtails to, if you just want chicken, you can get chicken and fish. You can get chicken and steaks. You can customize the box. We work with you. It's just not a set box, but it's anything from 25 to 35 pounds of natural organic meat. And then our veggie box is anywhere from 20 to 25 pounds. And not only in your veggie box do you get vegetables, you get organic beans, rices, custom rices that we make, black rice, black beans, red rice, quinoa. You get all those things in your vegetable box. So, and wow. I curate it every month. So every month it's different. Sometimes you might get more fish. Sometimes you might get more steaks. It just depends on what's fresh, organic, and available. So, and then we also have a sauce and seasoning box. If you just want to try us out and see if you like us and how we vibe, try the seasoning box.
Right on. So family, this is Mama's Market's Fine Foods, 4421 24th Street.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a beautiful place. Call them 916-308-7314. That's where she's located, dear sister. And they are open. You're open today, right?
Yes, noon to 4.
Noon to 4, right on. So y'all, we got to support each other and not just like in buying food that's already prepared. We need to buy food we could cook at home because your health and your wealth depends on what you put inside yourself. So absolutely. Please, there's the address and the website, which we had up earlier. I'll get that back up. Please support this, sister and brothers. Support them in their endeavors. Sister, as we wrap up, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so grateful.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for Khadijah, for tying the knot. I really appreciate her. Hey, Temperance says she'll be here. So, you know what? Every Friday, listen to this. Every Friday, we have live music or a curated set. You can come and have wine. It's free. You can come relax and chill and just talk. Find your friend and talk with and look just like you. It's free every single Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. We serve wine. It's free. You don't have to purchase anything. You just gotta come and meet somebody and come see what we're about and just take some time. If you've had a hectic week, this is what it is. It's called the Wine Down. It's every Friday.
A
here on the
wine, I
property.
like that.
It's called, and just sit and just collect yourself, and it's free.
Right on, right on. All right, dear sister. Well, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to wrap
Okay.
this down real quick. So, family, thank you so much for joining us on today with Sunday Sitting with Sisters, as we were joined by the Queen up in here, Sister Cleo. And
Dana, where were you today?
Yeah.
We missed you. How
Yeah,
dare
Dana.
you? How dare you?
I know her. So
Okay.
we'll be back next week, and I hope y'all have a good day. All right, family. Peace and blessings.